Likewise, now suppose I want to take right endpoints. So instead of this, I would be using right endpoints. Okay, so let me look for another picture of the same story. So here, the same story, instead now I will be using right endpoint for each rectangle. So this is my first cut, second cut, third cut, fourth cut, fifth cut. Okay, and these are the endpoints. So now for the first rectangle, I will use right endpoint, that's here. So I will be using a smaller height than before. Okay, so because my curve is slightly lower than 8. And then that's my first rectangle. For the second rectangle, I start from here, see where it meets the curve. So it is even lower. So this is the second rectangle. For third one, it's even lower. For the fourth one, it's here. Okay, better. For the fifth one, you go here. Okay, a little more than 5. For the last one, this is the height I need. Oops. All right. So these are my rectangles. So width is still 2. Width is still 2 delta x. The heights are slightly lower than before. I start with 7.9, then go on to 7.5, 7, 6.3, 5.2, and lastly 4. Okay, so that using width and height, I take all these rectangles areas, add them up, and this is what I get. Okay, 75.8 is what I have. Then the last part here is to use midpoints. Okay, so one more case is where you would use the midpoints. All right, so what would we do here? The same story, except you are using height based on the midpoint. So I still want 6 rectangles. So I'm going to take width 2 to fill up all the way to 12 and get 6 rectangles. Now this time I'm going to take the midpoint and use that as the height. Okay, here. This is the first rectangle. For the second rectangle, use the midpoint, and that's the height. Whoops. For the third one, again use the midpoint of the rectangle base Okay. And so on. For the fourth one, again the midpoint, you're right here. For the fifth one, again the midpoint. Whoops. And the sixth one, this is a midpoint. Come on. All right, you have the idea. That's all we care, right? Okay. So, what are the respective heights for the midpoint? It should be M. 6 rectangles. The heights I get are 8, 7.8, and so on. Okay. 8 for the first one. The next one is little more than 7.5. I will say 7.8. The next one I'll say 7.3. The next one is 6 point something 7. Then this one is 5 point something, let's say 5.8. And the last one is a little more than, so 4.7, right? So find the area of each rectangle, add them up, that's there. Okay. Now the question is, so you have found the areas, that's 80.6, that's my estimation. All right. Now, two questions. Is L6 an underestimate or an overestimate? Right? So L6 was the left end point. So let me go back to L6. That was the A using left end points. Looks like all the rectangles are above my curve. So I actually get more area using these rectangles. So this is an overestimate. Okay. Whereas the next one, using right end points, all my rectangles are below the curve. So I'm getting less of an area. So the next one is an underestimate. All right. So that's all. It's all correct. Until next problem.